Welcome to the Deep Dive, where local knowledge truly meets real estate strategy. Today, we're spotlighting a true expert from RE/MAX Metro, Al Bennati.
Glad to be here.
If you're in St. Pete Beach, Al's your go-to specialist, and he's here to walk us through what really matters from the latest city budget workshop.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack from that meeting.
Al isn't just a realtor, he's a real estate strategist, an investor, a renovation pro with a track record of over 20,000 homes sold and 250 plus personal remodels under his belt?
Something like that, yeah. Built up over the years.
With deep roots here in St. Pete Beach, Al has this uncanny ability to cut through the noise, helping you understand precisely what these city financial decisions mean for your property, your neighborhood, and your next big move.
It's often surprising, how much the seemingly dry numbers of a budget workshop can reveal about major real estate trends and future opportunities.
Exactly.
Our goal today is really to give you that inside track, connecting the dots between local policy and how it shapes everything from home values to, say, renovation potential and your overall real estate decisions.
Okay, let's unpack this then. The St. Pete Beach Finance and Budget Committee recently held its latest workshop, really a deep dive into the city's financial blueprint. The finance director, Devin Schmidt, she kicked things off by explaining ad valorem taxes, basically, your property taxes.
Right. And one of the first things to grasp, and it surprises some people, is that not all of your property tax bill actually stays local.
Oh, okay.
Only about 20% of what you pay in property taxes remains directly in St. Pete Beach to fund local services.
Just 20%, wow.
Yeah. The other 80%, that goes out to various entities like schools, Pinellas County, EMS, and other special districts, the Juvenile Welfare Board, Southwest Florida Water Management.
Got it. So a lot of different places.
Exactly.
To make that tangible, I think the committee used a $500,000 home as a practical example to show how those city dollars funnel back into St. Pete Beach's general fund.
They did. And for residents and investors, Al always emphasizes that understanding this 20/80 split is, well, it's more than just trivia.
Right.
It reveals a crucial truth. Even though only a fraction of your property tax stays local, that specific portion funds the services like maintaining your local parks or repairing neighborhood roads that disproportionately influence the immediate day-to-day appeal and the long-term resale value of your specific property. It's often a far more direct impact than, say, the larger county-level allocations.
That makes sense. The stuff you see every day.
Precisely.
And it gets even more interesting when you look at who's contributing what. The overall picture shows that a significant 70% of the city's general fund revenues, that's about $11 million,
Yeah, a big chunk.
comes from non-homestead properties. So investment properties, vacation homes, commercial spaces.
That's right. While homestead properties, meaning homes where people live full-time, account for the remaining 30%, or about $4.7 million.
Okay. And drilling down even further.
Well, 72% of that total revenue, roughly $11.3 million, comes from residential properties. That's both homesteaded and non-homesteaded combined.
Ah, okay.
Commercial properties contribute 24%, about $3.7 million. And then you have mixed-use properties, residences above shops, maybe home-based businesses. They account for around 4% or $600,000.
So how does this break down by actual property type, like single-family homes versus condos?
Good question. On the homestead side, the folks living here full-time, 70% are in single-family homes,
Yeah.
followed by 20% in condominiums. For non-homestead properties, it's broader. 26% are condos, 25% are single-family homes.
Pretty even split there.
Yeah, and 19% are larger hotels or motels, the ones with 50 or more units. There's also a mix of condo conversions, apartments, duplexes, and this other category.
What falls into other?
That covers everything from timeshares to vacant lots and something they call planned unit developments.
Planned unit developments, PUDs.
Exactly, PUDs. It's a specific zoning classification where a developer can build a variety of housing types, maybe even some commercial space, all within one master plan community. It gives more design flexibility.
Interesting.
And from Al's perspective, understanding these diverse revenue drivers is, well, it's a strategic advantage, particularly for investors.
How so?
It tells you which property types, like commercial or hotels, are really central to the city's financial health. That might point to areas of future focus or, investment stability, and it can hint at how the city might prioritize services that benefit those property types.
Right. Understanding the engine. Okay, let's shift gears then to the nitty-gritty millage rates. St. Pete Beach's current city millage is 3.0913. But when you add in everything else, county, school, EMS, St. Pete Beach actually has one of the lowest total millage rates around here in Pinellas County.
That's true. Which might make you wonder, why are we even talking about changes if the rate is already low?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, the surprising fact is that the gross taxable value for St. Pete Beach is actually lower this year than last. That hasn't happened since 2008.
Wow. Why the dip?
It's the diminished value of building structures and properties damaged by the recent hurricanes Helen and Milton.
Ah, the storm impact. Okay.
Which brings us to this concept called the rollback rate.
Right. You hear rollback, and you instinctively think lower taxes, maybe a discount.
You do, but here the rollback rate is actually higher than the current rate.
Higher? How does that work?
Well, it's because the rollback rate is calculated to generate the exact same amount of ad valorem revenue as the previous year.
Ah, okay.
So with property values lower overall because of hurricane damage, you actually need a slightly higher rate to collect that same total amount of money for the city. It's basically an accounting adjustment to keep revenue steady.
Not necessarily a higher bill for everyone, just a higher rate needed to get the same total pot.
Precisely. And Al, he's been on the ground helping families rebuild after storms like Helen and Milton. He really stresses this point.
I bet.
He'd tell you it's not just about the city's balance sheet. It's about the very real impact on people's homes. He's seen how, say, a compromised seawall or a clogged storm drain can turn a minor issue into a nightmare for a homeowner.
Yeah.
These budget adjustments, in a way, they're direct investments in your peace of mind and the integrity of your property.
So what do these rates actually mean in dollars for homeowners? Let's make it real.
Okay. For an average homesteaded residential property, the city portion of their tax bill works out to about $1,797 per year.
$1,797. Okay.
A commercial, non-homestead property, on average, pays quite a bit more, around $9,179 annually.
Big difference.
Huge. And the range is vast, from a low of maybe $262 for some residents way up to $240,000 for the most valuable properties in the city.
Wow. Okay. So with that context, the big question at the workshop was, what happens if the city does change the millage rate?
Exactly. The current budget, based on the existing 3.0913 rate, brings in about $15.78 million.
But there are other options discussed, right?
Yes. Several options were on the table. The rollback rate, the one the committee ultimately recommended, that would generate about $140,000 more for the city.
Okay, a modest increase in total revenue.
Right. Then there was a majority vote maximum rate, which could bring in an additional $859,000.
Getting more significant.
And a two-thirds vote maximum millage. That could generate around $2.5 million more annually. They even looked at a 10-year forecast.
10 years?
Yeah, where that two-thirds vote maximum could pile up about $25.2 million specifically for projects.
Okay, so these potential increases, they're not just going into a general slush fund, they're tied to specific things.
That's the key point. They're tied to critical, tangible projects. For example, the extra money from the majority vote maximum rate, that could fund vital work like cleaning and inspecting the stormwater system.
Which is huge after storms.
Absolutely. And crucial shoreline protection. Improvements to the Don Cesar boat ramp. The two-thirds vote maximum over 10 years could even tackle major resiliency projects like improving the Bella Vista and Don Cesar basins. That's all about protecting neighborhoods from flooding.
And this is where Al's perspective comes in again, right?
Yeah.
Connecting it to property value.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Al frequently advises clients that these are the kinds of investments that directly impact property values. Better stormwater management means less flood risk, potentially lower insurance costs.
Yeah.
Shoreline protection literally safeguards beachfront properties. These aren't just abstract numbers on a spreadsheet. They're direct improvements to how livable the city is and the long-term value of St. Pete Beach homes.
Things buyers definitely look for.
He's seen it firsthand. Good infrastructure maintains desirability and prevents massive headaches for homeowners down the road.
Now, I heard this is where the budget workshop really sparked some debate, a pretty robust discussion about the city's financial philosophy.
That's right. One perspective strongly argued that, look, the city should be able to operate with less.
Okay, what was the reasoning there?
Well, the argument was backed by data showing that while revenues went up 56% between 2020 and 2026,
56%.
non-discretionary expenses, not counting capital projects, soared by 116% in that same period.
Whoa, double the rate of revenue increase.
Yeah. The feeling was, since the city hasn't physically gotten bigger, this increase must be mostly from property values going up and homes changing hands.
Okay.
Before COVID, most city funds apparently had surpluses. Now, almost all of them, except maybe the parking fund, are running deficits. So the sentiment was basically make every dollar stretch further instead of burdening residents, especially those still recovering from the hurricanes.
Makes sense from that perspective. But there was another side to this.
There was, and a compelling one. The finance director, Devin Schmidt, strongly emphasized that capital expenses are not discretionary, meaning they're absolutely core to keeping a city running. You can't just choose not to fix a failing sewer line. She pointed out there's been maybe a decade of deferred infrastructure maintenance,
Kicking the can down the road.
essentially, leading to failing systems now that must be addressed. It's not optional anymore.
So the question becomes, can you really cut services without impacting quality of life?
That's the crux of it. The city's operations were described as already pretty skinny, not a lot of fluff.
Lean operation.
Right, so cutting often means hitting basic services, public safety, fire protection. Plus, labor costs have apparently doubled in 6 years, and like everywhere, there are labor shortages. So just slashing budgets isn't really a viable solution for fixing long-term infrastructure problems.
So it's a tough balancing act. Investing versus restraining.
It really is. They're looking into new fee studies for things like sewer and stormwater, but even those won't instantly cover all the built-up capital needs.
And from Al's real estate angle?
From Al's viewpoint, while nobody enjoys higher taxes, investing in infrastructure is, well, it's non-negotiable for preserving and growing property values.
Right.
Deferred maintenance on sewers or storm drains, that can lead to massive, costly problems that directly hit home livability and market appeal. That potential, what was it, $19 annual increase for a $711,000 home.
You sounded small.
It might seem small, but it could contribute to vital projects that prevent far costlier disasters later. It's about securing your investment. As Al often puts it, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, especially with infrastructure near the beach.
Good point. The workshop also touched on the city's financial reserves, right? The rainy day fund.
Yes. Currently, the budget provides a little over 3 months of operating expenditures and reserves, which comes out to around $8.7 million.
Is that enough?
Well, that's the debate. The recent hurricanes, Helen and Milton, together cost the city about $8.5 million in expenditures.
Oof, almost the entire reserve right there.
Exactly. So the question becomes, should the city plan for a worst-case scenario, like another Helen hitting soon, or stick to the standard financial recommendations of having maybe 20–25% of the operating budget in reserves?
Tough call.
It is, especially with Gulf temperatures rising. The committee agreed that needs more community discussion, figuring out the right risk tolerance.
Okay. But the good news is, if the city does pursue millage increases in the future, there are safeguards being discussed, these guardrails.
Yes, that's important. 50% of any increase would be mandated to go into a dedicated resiliency fund, strictly limited to those types of projects, storm hardening, flood prevention.
Okay, lockdown.
And the other 50% would also be locked down, but for specific other capital projects. The idea is to ensure taxpayer money is used exactly as promised and doesn't just get absorbed into general operating costs. Transparency.
That sounds reassuring.
And another proactive step one Al really finds encouraging is how the city's actively pursuing other revenue streams besides just property taxes.
Like what?
Well, they're working with the county to get bed tax assistance for beach maintenance. That's money from hotel and short-term rental stays.
Makes sense. Tourists use the beaches.
Right. They're also looking to increase the city's percentage share from multimodal impact fees. Those are fees collected when new developments happen, meant to fund transportation improvements.
Okay.
And they're even seeking assistance from Penny for Pinellas funds for road projects. It shows they're thinking broader, strategically, about funding the city's future, not just relying on property owners.
So beyond the big budget numbers, the workshop also covered some specific operational improvements happening in St. Pete Beach. What are some practical changes residents might see?
Sure, in public safety, they're actually streamlining their community policing deputies, the CPDs, working with the sheriff's office.
Streamlining how?
They found that having 2 dedicated CPDs was actually more effective and productive than the previous 3 in providing that vital local insight into neighborhoods and addressing specific trouble spots. So it's about efficiency and targeted community presence.
Okay, smarter deployment. What else?
For emergency preparedness, which is obviously top of mind after the hurricanes, they're creating a new full-time emergency preparedness specialist position.
That sounds important.
Very. This person will spend 60% of their time on centralized coordination, directly supporting what's called the NIMS construct.
NIMS.
That's the National Incident Management System. It's a federal framework that standardizes how agencies respond during emergencies. Having someone focused on this means a more organized, effective city response when major events hit, which directly impacts how quickly your community can recover.
Definitely a step towards greater resilience. Any other key infrastructure or safety updates mentioned?
Yeah, absolutely. They're allocating $3 million in revenue and expenses for Fire Station 22. That's a significant investment in fire safety infrastructure.
Good to hear.
Plus, there's a critical project underway to upgrade the city's old, frankly dated, security badge system. They're bringing in new technology and security cameras across city buildings. It's a crucial IT and physical security upgrade.
Modernizing things.
Exactly. And one more operational shift, the city is piloting a new per employee per month model for employee benefits.
What's the goal there?
It aims to be a tool for employee retention and recruitment. It came about because they had a flat benefit renewal, partly thanks to having healthy employees, and this model could make benefits more predictable and attractive, helping keep good people working for the city.
Right, because staffing shortages are a real issue.
Huge issue. And Al will definitely emphasize that all these operational improvements, better public safety, emergency readiness, modern infrastructure, they signal a commitment to a safer, more resilient community.
Which are huge selling points for real estate.
Absolutely. They directly enhance the quality of life and protect property values.
Right.
Al often calls these the hidden amenities that truly differentiate a community in the long run, making St. Pete Beach even more attractive to live and invest in.
And looking even further ahead, are there long-term revenue strategies being explored?
Yes, a couple interesting ones. One is exploring a community redevelopment agency, a CRA.
A CRA. Where?
Potentially for a specific area deemed ready for revitalization District 1 around Quarry Avenue.
How does a CRA work?
Okay, so the power of a CRA is that as property values increase within that designated district, the extra tax revenue generated by that increase, called the tax increment, doesn't go to the general county fund. Instead, it gets funneled right back into that same district, specifically for infrastructure and improvements.
Ah, so it's like a self-funding mechanism for targeted renewal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It keeps the benefits local. And another idea they're researching is forming a nonprofit organization.
A nonprofit? For what?
To accept donations specifically for city projects, like maybe purchasing open space or funding a particular park improvement. It's actually something Al himself has suggested in the past as a way for residents or others to contribute directly to specific community enhancements they care about.
Interesting. Private contributions for public good. So there you have it, a real deep dive into the St. Pete Beach Budget Workshop. Clearly, it's far from just a dry financial report. It's really a living document revealing the critical decisions shaping your community and ultimately your property's future.
Yeah, what truly stood out in this whole discussion is just how clearly the city's financial planning, its infrastructure needs, even its storm recovery efforts directly tie into the health of the local real estate market.
Definitely.
Understanding these dynamics is genuinely the inside track to making informed decisions, whether you're a longtime resident here or maybe thinking about moving to St. Pete Beach.
Our mission was to help you cut through the noise. And with Bennati's expert insights woven through this, we hope you now see just how deeply city planning intersects with your home value and your real estate strategy. Al doesn't just sell homes in St. Pete Beach, he really helps elevate them and, maybe more importantly, elevate your understanding of the whole picture.
Absolutely. Which leaves us with an interesting thought for you, the listener, to consider. How much are you willing to invest, maybe through taxes or other means, in the collective resilience and future value of your entire community, not just your own individual property?
That's a good question.
Because, as we've seen today, often those two things, your property's value and the community's health, they're really inextricably linked.